Hello everyone, in this video I'll be translating and summarizing the latest Urdu broadcast by Shahbaz Gill to make it accessible for our English-speaking audience. Let's go through the key developments and insights in Shahbaz Gill's words. Today's most important news begins with an attack on Miss Aleema Khan's house. Yes, just about an hour ago, unidentified individuals attacked the Lahore residence of Miss Aleema Khan. All of these men were in plain clothes. Obviously, they must have been from the intelligence agencies. They forcibly entered the house, assaulted the staff, vandalized the property, and abducted Miss Aleema Khan's younger son, Shiraz Khan. That's right. Imran Khan's sister, Aleema Khan's son, has been kidnapped from their Lahore residence. The staff was beaten, the house was ransacked, and this happened on the very same day that Miss Aleema Khan, along with her other sisters, was at the Supreme Court of Pakistan, trying to meet the Chief Justice, or, if that was not possible, to stage a sit-in there until the Chief Justice restored their right to meet their brother. As you know, meetings between Imran Khan and his sisters have been completely barred for more than a month. They went to the High Court, the Lower Court, and even the Supreme Court. During one hearing, Salman Safdar said, just the other day, that the sisters wanted to speak to the court, even though in the past the Supreme Court had allowed many people such permissions. But this time, Imran Khan's sisters were not allowed to speak. Today, Imran Khan was granted bail. We will give you all the details later. But after the bail hearing, the sisters said, since we are not being allowed to meet our brother, we will now sit in the Supreme Court until the meeting is granted. And on the very same evening, their Lahore home was attacked. In my view, Pakistan's intelligence agencies, whether ISI or MI, delivered a message. If you raise your voice, we will take your son. This is the state of law in the country right now. Remember, Miss Aleema Khan is Imran Khan's sister. Imran Khan is the country's most prominent political leader and a former prime minister. Think about the audacity or indifference of our Chief Justice Qazi Faiz Isa, who disregards public concerns, the constitution and the law entirely. He no longer even cares what people think about his conduct. He just does whatever he wants. Now we will discuss Imran Khan's bail, which is good news, as the Supreme Court has granted him relief. But first, because of this shocking incident at Miss Aleema Khan's house and her son's abduction, let's focus on that. The message was clear. If you speak out, your family, your children will not be safe. Parents among you, just imagine for a moment. If your child were kidnapped in this way, what would a mother or father go through? Imran Khan's nephew, Shiraz Khan, has never been seen participating in any political activity, rally, or anything of that sort. His other brothers may have occasionally appeared in small rallies, as other youngsters do, but Shiraz was never seen in politics. He focused on his studies and his own work, and yet today he was abducted simply because he happened to be at home. Whoever had been home would have been taken. This shows the state of law and constitution in this country. So that was the situation at the Supreme Court today. Miss Aleema Khan and her sisters demanded that they must be allowed to meet their brother. Meanwhile, the good news is that Imran Khan has been granted bail in the May 9th cases. We will give you the full details later. But before that, related to today's attack on Miss Aleema Khan's house, another matter has arisen concerning DG ISPR himself. Today, DG ISPR finally responded to Sohail Warraich's column. After many days of silence, he has spoken, but only because he was pressured into it. You know the saying, I wasn't going to speak, but my friend made me. Today, the DG ISPR had no choice, because the backlash against him, the Field Marshal, and even Sohail Warraich had become too intense. Now, Sohail Warraich has been so rattled that he just posts old photos from Europe to suggest where he is because he fears public backlash wherever he goes. But let's focus on today. The DG ISPR did something to Sohail Warraich that no journalist could have imagined, even in his worst nightmares. Here's what he said. The Army's stance on May 9th has been the same from the beginning. Field Marshal General Asim Munir never spoke of reconciliation with PTI. Asking for forgiveness will not stop legal proceedings. That's what the DG ISPR claimed. He accused Sohail Warraich of lying, saying he fabricated statements for personal publicity and gain. He also criticized his media group, Yang and Geo, for irresponsibility. According to him, there was never any interview, never any mention of reconciliation, and never any talk of forgiveness. But here's the problem. The DG ISPR himself is now caught lying. We are presenting to you his own 2024 statement published in Dawn, where he clearly said if PTI apologizes, the door to reconciliation can be opened. This was not someone else. This was DGISPR himself. The problem is that our so-called brilliant minds either forget their own words or assume others will forget. But social media never forgets. Social media exposes everything and throws your past statements back at you. Selective memory won't work. When their lies are caught, they become embarrassed, lash out, and then accuse social media users of being disruptive, ill-mannered, and sowing chaos in the country. Then they recite verses of the Quran, but there is no Quranic verse for lying. Today the DGISPR lied when he said that they never gave any statement about forgiveness. But this is his own statement from 2024, which he has never denied and which was published in Dawn. The whole world has heard his statement. This is not the first time. The host of that Brussels event, where the army chief met overseas Pakistanis, also came forward. First, they brought Faisal Vauda to TV screens. You'll remember he spent 2 full days claiming that Sohail Warraich's column was false, fabricated and should not be believed. As I often say, Faisal Vauda acts like the informal DG ISPR. When that failed, they then brought forward the host of the Brussels event, an overseas Pakistani often mocked as Patwari. He too was pressured to say it was all false, and when that also failed, finally the actual DG ISPR himself had to step in. Why? I'll explain, but first listen to what the host himself said. We were a few people sitting there, my family, Sohail Warraich, Mohsin, and others. Many discussions happened there, and the things mentioned by Sohail Warraich were indeed discussed in that sitting. You heard it. Later, talking to Saralam, he repeated that the content of Sohail Warraich's column was correct, and that these things were discussed in the Quanda session with the army chief. He confirmed that Sohail Warraich was seated with the army chief at the same table, and everyone knows the event lasted hours, with around 800 people meeting the field marshal individually. So, yes, Sohail Warraich spent hours with him, and the host verified the content. But then what happened to this poor host? Sources tell us he was called, abused with filthy language, insulted, and told, "How dare you confirm this when both the DG ISPR and Faisal Vauda are denying it?" Whether he did it out of conscience or at Sohail Warraich's request, we don't know. But he gave that truthful statement. And then, under pressure, he was forced to change his words. Here's his later corrected statement. In Sohail Warraich's column, it is claimed that there was a 2-hour discussion over dinner with at least 20 people present. But there was no such interview, no such private sitting, and no such long conversation. This is entirely false and misrepresentation. So now you can see how he was made to first confirm the story, then forced to deny it. And remember, we told you from the beginning, the meeting lasted more than 2 hours in a separate room, not the Field Marshal's main chamber. Now, of course, they are all denying it. But see what happened to that poor host. First used to host the event, then abused, then pressured into changing his statement. Now, as for Sohail Warraich himself, he is not an ordinary journalist. Though, yes, I have criticised his style many times. His journalism was more about interviewing dancers, asking them about tattoos, or asking models what they find attractive in men. That's the level of journalism he became known for. Yet today he is also writing columns about the Field Marshal. This irony says more about Pakistan's fate than anything else. But ask yourself, would such a journalist, known for light-hearted or frivolous work, dare to fabricate such a serious statement about the army chief on his own? Would his media house dare to publish it without solid backing? No. What happened is clear. When the public outrage exploded over the forgiveness, angels and Satan comments, the establishment panicked. First they deployed Faisal Vauda, then other proxy journalists, and finally DG ISPR himself. And when even then matters did not come under control, finally, DG ISPR himself had to step into the field. Now, let us look into the past. Remember when DG ISPR Lieutenant General Baba Iftikhar, at that time, I think he was still a Major General, said, "The reports of a deal with Nawaz Sharif are fabricated and baseless"? He gave this statement. But in reality, such a deal did happen. At that time, too, the DG was lying. The DGs lie openly and strongly, and only after a few months does the truth come out that indeed it was a lie. So now to say that this cannot be a lie just because the DG said so, and to call Sohail Warraich a liar, to call his work fabricated, to claim he wrote it only for personal gain, well, in my view, that is itself false. This is the irony of history. Today I am forced to say, when comparing the two stances, that all our sources and logic tell us that Sohail Warraich is the truthful one in this entire matter, and that the DG is the one whose wings are now burning. What he has said is nothing but a heap of lies, because at this moment that is the only way he sees to save himself. Why? Because the public anger and backlash against the Field Marshal's words has been very strong. Naturally, there must also be reactions within the institution. Now, before we move on, let me ask one question, if I may, with your permission. You say that the part about billions of dollars of investment was false, fabricated by Sohail Warraich. Fine. You say that the part about a 10-year economic plan was also false. Fine. You say that the part about forgiveness, which troubled you most, that forgiveness could bring reconciliation, was also false. Fine, but then tell us, Sohail Warraich also wrote another line that the Field Marshal said, "I long for martyrdom. Within me there is a desire for martyrdom." Was that also false? Did Sohail Warraich invent this part as well? Or does the Field Marshal really have such a wish? Because if you are saying everything is a lie, then is this part also a lie? When he wrote that the Field Marshal said, "I desire no office, I am only a soldier, and my heart yearns for martyrdom," did Sohail Warraich make this up too? Or is that desire for martyrdom actually real? I am only asking this question. Here there is also a very big lesson for Sohail Warraich himself, if he reflects. Not just for him, but also for people like Munib Farouk, Hassan Ayub, a good friend whom I respect a lot, Kamran Shahid and others, and those cheap touts who have recently appeared in the market, like Mr. Sorwadi with his loud, big speaker style, Nasrullah Malik, and in politics people like Faisal Vauda, who routinely present themselves as informal DG ISPRs. All of them should think carefully, because when Chaudhry Sahib, a reference to the DG ISPR, feels the fire at his own feet, he will not hesitate to throw you under the bus. He will not take even a minute to discredit you. I keep repeating this. When the time comes, none of your calls will be answered. Now quickly let me present today's Supreme Court development before you. Finally today, Imran Khan was granted bail in the May 9th cases. Justice Miangul Hassan Aurangzeb was replaced on the bench by Justice Hassan Azhar Rizvi. People thought this last-minute bench change meant another delay, but thankfully that did not happen. The case was heard, and after hearing it, the court issued its decision. Bail was granted. One good thing the Supreme Court did was to admonish those lower court judges who had unnecessarily spoken on the merits of the case while deciding bail. They asked the prosecutor, "Can the merits of a case ever be discussed in a bail hearing? Doesn't that prejudice the case?" The prosecutor admitted, yes, merits should not be discussed. Yet he contradicted himself by saying, "If given a chance, I too would argue on the merits here." The Supreme Court strictly stopped both parties from arguing merits, and in the 8 cases related to May 9th, they granted Imran Khan bail. They said, when other accused in the same cases have already been granted bail, then why not Imran Khan? How can we discriminate? They also asked, show us one precedent where the Supreme Court has denied bail in a conspiracy case like this. And then came a very dangerous sentence from the Chief Justice. He said that the trial of Imran Khan's case must be concluded within 120 days, 4 months. Now, I don't know whether this line will appear in the detailed judgment or not, but if it does, it will be judicial murder, because the challan, the charge sheet, has not even been presented yet. If the Chief Justice writes that the case must be decided in 4 months, then this will mean Imran Khan will be hastily convicted, just as false convictions were handed down before in other May 9th cases. That wraps up our translation of Shahbaz Gill's video. I hope this English version helped you understand his message better. Please like, share and subscribe to Awami Lens to help our community grow. Don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this effort.